Well, good morning, everybody. It's Mitch. As usual, spending a little time outside in the morning sun. Another beautiful day down here in Florida. You remember I did a little less than a week ago a video based on a theme of how we got here. Where did all this ludicrous dietary advice come from? And we started in part one, talking about Ellen G. White back in the late 1800s, who decided that because of her religious beliefs, that meat caused impure thoughts in men. And it all started, and it just so happens that she had a young protege that worked for her named Kellogg. John Harvey Kellogg, of Kellogg's cereals fame. He started out basically as a copywriter and editor for her on her book, and he was a Seventh-day Adventist as well, and a follower of Ellen White's, and she, from what I understand, evidently put him through medical school. And in the late 1800s, along with John Harvey Kellogg, opened a sanitarium in Battle Creek, Michigan. And if that sounds familiar, it's because Kellogg's of Battle Creek is the way they've always billed themselves. Well, John Harvey Kellogg was quite a character in his own right. And the story of the weird things that happened in his sanitarium and how it even further cemented in the public dialogue this idea that humans should be vegetarians and not eat meat is an important part of the history of how we did get here. So today we're going to talk about John Harvey Kellogg, and we're going to talk about the sanitarium at Battle Creek. And interestingly enough, there was a movie made quite a while ago. It starred Matthew Broderick and Anthony Hopkins, and the movie was called The Road to Wellville. Now, while this movie had a great deal of factually correct information, I think the movie was made as a spoof or as a comedy, but it did give a pretty good idea of the reality of exactly what went on in that particular sanitarium. And I think watching that movie, or at least clips from it, might add some reality to your mental picture of just exactly what went on. So we're going to talk about Dr. Kellogg, his invention of breakfast cereals, and his influence on how we got here. So buckle your seatbelts. This gets crazy. Enjoy. And there he is, John Harvey Kellogg. I know what you're thinking. No, that's not Colonel Sanders. John Kellogg and his brother invented cornflakes. This happened after Dr. Kellogg took over running the Battle Creek Sanitarium with a head start and push for vegetarianism from the church. And although Dr. Kellogg had some wild ideas about how to cure diseases and treat conditions, that part of the story isn't what actually went forward, grew, and influenced the decisions that came about after Ancel Keys and the government decided that they're going to tell people what causes heart disease and what people need to eat. Now, Dr. Kellogg did play a role in this, But very shortly after he and his brother split off and his brother started to take care of the cereal business, Dr. Kellogg focused on the sanitarium and his, quote, patients until the thing burned down. I think it was 1902. They rebuilt it. But once that split happened, he had very little to do with the actual propagation of the grains are what we should be eating, and meat is not. The reason that he was not responsible directly or individually for that was that the breakfast cereal business grew like crazy. They made a lot of money. They were able to influence a lot. They were able to advertise a lot. Breakfast cereals fit the bill for the American public. They were fast. They were convenient. You didn't have to cook them. And it became one big narrative that just everybody thought they were a winner by eating the breakfast cereals, feeding the breakfast cereals to their children, and propagating this whole idea that that's the way human beings should eat, all the while demonizing bacon, eggs, and other animal products along the way. But Dr. Kellogg's initial push of the breakfast cereals really started this whole ball rolling long before he went off in his own direction. I've put some links in the show notes to some articles about the sanitarium, about Dr. Kellogg, and even about how he was working on fake meat way back then, way before they started the Impossible Burgers. I also put a link in there to a complete version, a whole version of the movie, The Road to Wellville, which you can watch, and it's a great movie. I had put some clips from that movie in this video, but they got copyrighted out by YouTube. So watch the movie. It's very entertaining. Now, Dr. Kellogg, while his role in this chain of events that led to how we got here stopped at a certain point when he and his brother split up. His brother went off and ran the breakfast food business, which got huge, gained money, influence, and continued the chain of events that led to this information. Dr. Kellogg went on his way with his screwball practices and strange medical ideas. But from that point, he was not as responsible for the end result of the food guidelines and the food pyramid as the players that followed him. And we'll talk about Ancel Keys in the next one. I will see you in the next one. That's enough for today. Go home, take the rest of the day off, eat some meat.